Have you ever had someone say something unfair, and even though you know you're right, you lose control? You shout, you get angry, and then that emptiness lingers in your chest. Esteban experienced this every day. He thought others were the problem, until one day, someone showed him that his true enemy was his own reaction. Stay until the end, because this story will teach you how to stop giving away your peace. Esteban lived in a small town surrounded by mountains, with streets that smelled of freshly baked bread in the mornings and damp earth when it rained. From the outside, everything seemed perfect: a modest house, Anna, his loving wife, 2 curious children, and a stable job at the carpentry workshop. But inside, he carried a stone that tightened his chest. Everything irritated him. A traffic light that took too long, a neighbor playing loud music, an unanswered message, an ambiguous comment. Any tiny spark could set his day on fire. Every morning, he promised himself that today would be different. Today I will stay calm, he thought as he put on his boots and took his first sip of coffee. But it only took a small mishap to break the promise. If the cup had too little sugar, he slammed the table. If the children spilled milk, his voice thundered. Anna would silently clean up, letting out a sigh that felt like reproach, and Esteban knew it. Then came the guilt, that hangover that neither water nor apologies could wash away. Sorry, he would say. It's okay, Anna replied, and the next day, it all started over again. Things were no better at the workshop. Esteban was skilled with his hands, meticulous, and proud of his craft. But if something went wrong, a mismeasured cut, a splintered board, a delayed delivery, his patience vanished. How many times have I explained this? He would explode at his coworkers. Fernando, the youngest apprentice, began avoiding him. Every time Esteban approached, Fernando tensed his shoulders, anticipating an invisible blow that hurt just the same. One afternoon, Fernando made a tiny mistake on a list. Esteban corrected him in front of everyone with unnecessary harshness. The silence that followed wasn't respect, it was fear. Esteban didn't feel strong, he felt alone. His anger didn't stay at work, it spilled into everyday life. At the market, if the cashier took too long, he huffed. In the bank line, if someone got too close, he frowned and muttered. One afternoon, under a light drizzle, a car sped by and drenched him from head to toe. Esteban ran after it, shouting, dignity in shreds. The car didn't stop. Facing a rain-soaked window, ridiculous and furious, he felt ashamed, not of the rain, but of himself. That night, he barely spoke at dinner. Anna told him about the kids and their activities. Esteban listened without listening, staring at a point in space. No one could enter that cave he retreated into when angry. Before going to bed, Anna gently said, "You can't avoid the rain, but you can decide whether you arrive home soaked." He wanted to argue that it wasn't that simple, that people provoked him, that sometimes he was right. But he just said, "I know," with the tired voice of someone who can't find the way out. The days became a taut rope. One morning, he received a message from the bank. A payment hadn't processed. He called, waited, was transferred from operator to operator. When they finally answered, the call dropped. His heart raced. He threw the phone onto the couch. "Always the same," he grunted. At that moment, his youngest child appeared with a drawing. "It's for you," the child said. Esteban barely looked, and the child smiled anyway, as if being near was enough. Later, he found the crumpled drawing under the couch. He picked it up carefully, wondering how many things he had trampled without realizing. He tried methods he had heard. Count to 10, breathe deeply, bite his tongue, postpone his response. They worked for 5-10 minutes. But at the first twisted comment, everything boiled again. His mind translated tiny things into personal attacks. If someone made a mistake nearby, he took it as disrespect. If someone corrected him, he felt judged on his worth. He didn't understand that his filter was the problem, not the world. One afternoon, his childhood friend Mateo invited him to play soccer. At first, there was laughter and joking. But 20 minutes in, someone didn't pass him the ball. "I'm alone," Esteban shouted. Minutes later, a minor foul was committed against him. He got up furious, shoved his opponent, and the game stopped. "Calm down, Esteban," Mateo said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Esteban shrugged it off. "They're always against me." He left before the game ended. Carrying that mix of anger and shame everyone has felt at least once. One Wednesday, at the workshop, the boss announced a new logistics manager, Marta, young and organized. Esteban had been asking for improvements for years, and when she suggested a more efficient way to cut pieces, he felt attacked. "We've always done it this way," he said sharply. She insisted with data. He crossed his arms. "I don't need you to teach me." The conversation ended coldly. Back at his desk, he noticed sidelong glances. No one had insulted or challenged him, yet he was on the defensive. That night, he went for a walk. The town was calm, lanterns lit, windows glowing yellow. He reached the plaza and sat on his usual bench. He heard teenagers laughing, a dog barking, the wind whispering through the trees. He felt tired of useless adrenaline, of regretting words spoken in heat, of letting his day depend on others. "I don't want to be this man," he thought, speaking it aloud, though no one was nearby. The next day, at the corner cafe, he noticed an older man reading a book, calm, attentive to the waitress. Esteban watched him without knowing why. At the workshop, the noise and his racing pulse competed, and he thought of the cafe, the man, and the calm he radiated. That afternoon, closing the workshop, he answered a family call that ended badly. Angry at himself, he walked to the old park, sat down, and noticed a girl playing nearby. The man from the cafe appeared and offered him water. "Looks like the day drenched you too," he said, smiling without judgment. Esteban spoke. He told about his anger, his failures, the drawing on the floor, the conversation with Anna. "I don't know why I am like this," he said at the end. Sergio listened without interrupting. "I was like you too," he admitted. "I thought the world owed me respect and attention. I didn't understand that my peace depended on me." That night, Esteban returned home changed, not calm, but different. He hugged his children awkwardly, helped Anna wash the dishes, and remembered Sergio's words. "I put my peace in everyone else's hands." In the following days, Esteban observed himself. He noticed how he anticipated responses, interpreted tones that weren't there, how his body reacted first. He realized that his anger was the sum of 1,000 small annoyances. He needed a new way to face the world, and for the first time, he wasn't looking for someone else to blame. Sergio appeared the next day at the cafe. They walked and watched people without judgment. "Look at how they react," he said. "Everyone thinks they're right, but none of them are happy. Reason defended with shouts is insecurity in disguise." He suggested an exercise. Close your eyes, remember the last anger, and first feel the heat in your chest. The body speaks before the mouth. Recognizing it before speaking was halfway to victory. Esteban returned home and bumped into teenagers accidentally. He felt the urge to shout, but remembered the words. The body speaks before the mouth. He breathed. The heat subsided. He kept walking. Nothing happened outside, but inside, he had won a silent battle. He told Anna, who smiled surprised and relieved. For weeks, he kept learning with Sergio. They talked about simple things, yet each conversation transformed him. Learn to choose what belongs to you and what doesn't. Not everything you hear is yours. Over time, Esteban applied this idea everywhere. At the workshop, in traffic, in every daily interaction. Small victories accumulated. He learned that getting angry isn't strength. Recognizing it and letting it go is freedom. One afternoon, while drawing a line in the dirt, Sergio showed him. On one side, what you can control, on the other, what you cannot. Live on the right side. Accept what is beyond your control. The small tests continued. Impatient neighbors, demanding clients, annoying coworkers. Each one a test disguised as routine. But Esteban no longer lost himself so easily. One day, he arrived at the cafe and Sergio had traveled, leaving only a letter. Don't try to eliminate anger. Observe it and let it pass. Change yourself, not others. When someone offends you, breathe and smile. That confuses the world and brings you back to yourself. Esteban read it several times, kept it, and left with a small but genuine smile. Weeks later, Fernando made a major mistake at the workshop. Esteban said only, "It's okay. We all make mistakes. We'll fix it together." The respect he had once demanded with shouts came now with calm. That night, sitting on the porch, he looked at the sky, felt lightness, and understood that true strength isn't in controlling others, but in controlling oneself. He learned that by choosing not to react, he didn't lose. He freed himself. Peace doesn't depend on anyone else. The town began to notice the change. The same Esteban who once argued now listened first. He smiled and said, You have a point. And he understood that people weren't taking away his calm. They were just showing him how much he had to learn. The real victory wasn't in winning arguments, but in maintaining his center, even when the world offered chaos. If this story awakened something in you, I would love for you to share it in the comments. Tell me which part touched you the most. It excites me to see how each story uniquely impacts lives. And if you want to keep traveling through stories that help you understand yourself better, subscribe, share this video. Help me bring more messages like this to the world. Because in the end, the noise outside can't always be avoided, but the peace inside, that one you can choose.